Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is April 24th, and right now we are looking at the combination of Doppler radars here across the Pacific Northwest. You can see some residual shower activity across the Cascades, convergent zone activity just northeast of Seattle there, locally enhancing some of that snowfall across the higher terrain. But those wintry driving conditions across the pass should be coming to an end as we go through the day today. There is still some precipitation occurring with this system as it pushes off to the east here across eastern Washington, Idaho, Montana. There's still some winter weather advisories across Idaho, Montana, Wyoming here. Some winter storm warnings even still in effect. And to the right of this green, this light green line here marks that general thunderstorm threat risk today. Now, taking a look at the infrared satellite imagery here, you can see the trough digging out over the Pacific Ocean here, and we're going to start to build some ridging and start to dry out, mainly southwest BC, south, and as we go on in through Idaho and Montana. But we've got a couple more systems still going to move through British Columbia as we go through the week here. Then we're really going to build the ridge northward up through British Columbia here and warm things up here across the west coast of North America. We'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at the extended forecast as well coming up here in a moment. This is if you're looking for an affordable home weather station. You click on the link below, you save 10%. This thing is extremely accurate. It tells you cool things like when the rain starts. It's got a haptic rain gauge on top there. It's got a lightning detection system. It's got an ultrasonic anemometer there. Stores all your data for you in the cloud. Highly recommend this very accurate station. Looking at SeaTac yesterday, 54, almost a half an inch of rain. Look at that. 0.46 inches. And take a look, blast from the past year, 1996. Does anybody remember this one? We had a 2-day total of just about 3 inches of rain here for SeaTac. Quite unusual this late in the season, so just kind of a noteworthy event there. Now, looking at Spokane, this is cool and rainy today, but it should be wrapping up as we go through the evening. Coming up here, the showers should be on the decrease here, but still some snow across some of the higher terrain as well. This is looking at 100-meter wind speed on the European. There's Washington, Oregon. And if we put that into motion, I see some breezy conditions exist as we go through the day today. Eastern Washington, Oregon, that includes the east slopes of the Cascades here. And then we start to slow things down here and we relax the gradient a bit as we go on in through Tuesday. But then watch what happens. We have a system that's going to slide through BC and continue that onshore flow. You see the flow down the Strait of Juan de Fuca, for example, here across eastern Washington, including east slopes of the Cascades. And then we slow things down again. We start to turn this gradient offshore here as we build the ridging off the coastline here, and we start to bring some warmer temperatures across the region. Look at this east flow across the Cascades, Oregon, for example, here as we go in towards Thursday night and towards Friday here as we warm up across the region. More on that here in a moment. This is looking at the NAM3 cam. We're just going to take a look at what we can expect coming up here. Just some residual showers across the Cascades. Maybe a couple more inches here for the highest peaks of the Blue Mountains and on in through portions of Idaho as we go through the day today. And then we're going to kind of dry out here as we go through the week. As you can see, I go all the way out through Wednesday afternoon and no additional snowfall here for the higher terrain. This is looking at apparent temperature, last night's European run. So we go through the day today. You notice we warm up a bit, maybe low 50s for Seattle, a little bit warmer across the base in eastern Washington, California, and the desert southwest are getting some nice warmth also. Here we go on in through Tuesday. Warm up a bit more. Look at the Willamette Valley starting to get up into the 60s, maybe some 70s out there across southwest Oregon also. Maybe some 70s for eastern Washington coming up here on the day Tuesday. Speed ahead towards Wednesday afternoon. Look at that. Seattle starts getting a bit warmer. Southwest BC. Look at that. Look at eastern Washington, maybe flirting with 80 degrees. Some 70s for the Willamette Valley. Look at Portland checking in at 72 there Wednesday afternoon. So Portland's going to be a little bit warmer than Seattle in this upcoming heat wave coming up here. Look at this. Again, 73 for Thursday, maybe some mid-60s around Seattle. Look at southwest Washington, maybe up towards 70 degrees on Thursday. So again, more on that here in a moment. And I want to give you a wider view of things. This is Pacific Ocean. There's the Hawaiian Islands, Japan way off to the left. Here's Alaska. There's Washington. So you can see the system impacting the region now. We try to build this ridge out here with this troughing over the Pacific Ocean, but you got these systems still kind of clipping through British Columbia here, and then this last one finally goes through Wednesday night. Then we really start to build a ridge here and we warm things up Thursday and Friday, but then this next trough is going to kind of try to cool things off here. Here we go through the day Saturday. One more warm day here across much of the Pacific Northwest before we get a marine push as we go through Saturday night into Sunday morning, and you can see the next arrival of that trough here as we go on in through early next week coming up here. And then that trough looks to drop down towards California, if you believe the European as of right now, but that's 10 days out. We'll continue to monitor that as we go. This is looking at Pacific North American oscillation. And as we go positive here, that means that potential for warmer weather does exist here coming up. So then we might drop back down as we go through May here as well. So kind of an interesting look at thing in the Pacific North American oscillation. And this would be positive territory here. You can see the high pressure closer to Washington, Oregon, Idaho here with the troughing over the Pacific Ocean, allowing warmer air and potential ridging to build up the west coast of North America. And the flip side here, when we go into Pacific North America negative here, we get this troughing, the cooler northwesterly flow along the west coast of North America. Here we go, 700 millibars, 10,000 feet. There goes our system moving through. Then you got a couple more systems moving through British Columbia here. There's the last one as we go through Wednesday night. Then that ridge builds. You can see that warm air at 10,000 feet. Just a kind of a classic signature for a couple warm days here across Pacific Northwest. But this time of year, it seems like the troughing is never far off. And you can see that next batch of cold air moving into British Columbia, including western Washington, Oregon, California here. And then you see this trough kind of settle down over the region. So we'll see how that trends in through the extended. But right now, it looks like Sunday we're in for a cool down here across a lot of the Pacific Northwest. We'll take a look at those temperatures here in a moment. This is 6-hour precipitation type sea level pressure. You can see the showers winding down here as we go through the day today, going towards Tuesday. And there goes that next system, a fairly deep low moving into southwest BC. Some windy conditions can be expected on the central and northern British Columbia coastline. A system mainly stays north of Washington and Oregon, as you see there. And then we really start to dry out here, and that storm track stays out over the Pacific Ocean here. You can see the no precipitation expected as we go through Saturday, but then Sunday we start to bring back a little bit of precip here and we cool things down, excuse me, and reintroduce the clouds across Pacific Northwest. This is looking at Portland. Look at this. As you go on in through Tuesday, you're warming things up. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday could be flirting with some 80-degree readings here across the Portland Metro here as we go on in through Friday, and another warm day there on Saturday. So nice stretch of weather coming up here for some of the Pacific Northwest for sure. Here goes Seattle. This is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Some of these ensemble members have, some mid-70s showing up here for Seattle, at least according to the European model there. So very nice stretch of weather here. Potential, 4 or 5 day setup coming up here with some nice weather before we cool down on Sunday. This is looking at 6-hour max temperature here, and you can see some nice 60-degree readings for 1, 2, 3, 4 days. The European calling for potentially mid-70s here as we go on in towards Saturday. So get your bathing suit out, Seattle. Looking at Portland International, same thing here. You can see the multiple run trend. It's really been picking up on this. It's going on 4.5 days now with calling for near 80 or even higher than 80-degree readings as we go on in through Friday and potentially Saturday here for Portland, and then the cool down arrives Sunday. So here we're looking at 24-hour multiple run trend precipitation, SeaTac Airport. You can see a lot of this precipitation has already fallen, so we're going to be dealing with some dry weather as we go through at least Saturday before we start to introduce that potential for some light precipitation as we go towards the early portion of next week. This is looking at 2-meter temperature anomaly. Put this into motion and watch as we go towards Wednesday afternoon shown here. Look at Western Oregon warming up all the way up towards the Seattle Metro. Thursday afternoon, much of the Pacific Northwest basking in above average temperatures coming up here. And as we go through Friday, look at that. Look at Western Oregon. Some areas getting up towards 20 degrees above average potentially here through Friday. Saturday, similar picture there. Look at Seattle, maybe 14 degrees above average. Eastern Washington, Oregon, quite warm before we start to cool back down on the day Sunday. This is looking at the 6 to 10 day temperature probability outlook through May 3rd. This may change, I have a feeling here, because we have that trough that looks to set up in this time frame here, so that'll probably be backing off here in the next few days. This is snow water equivalent for the Cascades of Washington. We are above that historical average, so good news there. This is the Upper Columbia, including east slopes of the Cascades of Washington up into British Columbia here. We are above that historical average here, so that is good news also. This is for the Cascades of Oregon. Check it out. Well above average here, well above the historical average as we go on in through towards May 1st here. So very good news with our snowpack here across Pacific Northwest. And this is where some extreme drought or some exceptional drought was just erased, as this snowpack with snow water equivalent is really helping out with some drought conditions across the east slopes of the Cascades of Oregon. So good news here for the Pacific Northwest as far as the amount of snow across the higher terrain. So anyway, this warm weather looks like it's on the way here, folks, and then we're going to cool back down probably again as we go through the early portion of next week, but we'll watch that day by day here in the forecast coming up. So yeah, make sure to click like and subscribe. Let's get the word out to as many people here as we can across Pacific Northwest. And we'll do this again tomorrow, and I'll talk to you guys then.